Hello Porsche Files, welcome to BreitWerks. What are we doing? Well, I wanted to do a follow-up video on the IMS area leak that we had on this 86 930 turbo. So if you saw my previous video, I had suspected that something was up with the IMS bearing, the thrust bearing. And I will tell you this, here is what I have done. So we used a product called Dykem on the 4 through 6 side, and then we bolted down the 1 through 3 side to it, but only the perimeter bolts. We didn't put the mains on. And what I noticed was I was not getting any transfer up here, right? Like none whatsoever. So I kept trimming the bearing down. Now, what do I mean by that? The thrust face, right? The thrust face, oops, taking off some of this dimension here, basically thinning it out, because the factory original ones were much narrower from here to here. And I am now convinced, because let's see, we tried 4 different sets of bearings, and the first 3 times we did everything the exact same way. We weren't getting really any transfer of the Dykem to the front of the other side of the case as we were tightening it down, which led me to believe it was holding it open. So after trying a couple of different styles, right? This came from a box that said made in Mexico. This is the original one that came out of the case. And then I ordered a bunch more just to kind of play with some different ones. And, you know, these have this stupid little hologram on them, right? And the hologram, not the QR code, but the hologram is supposed to mean that they're real. And this is exactly, you know, what you're supposed to use in this part. So, long story short, finally, when I did this same test with the original bearings, the transfer pattern looked exactly like this. So I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take brand new ones, not the ones that were in the engine when we first caught this leak, but brand spanking new ones, and we're gonna turn those down and basically shave the outer edge of the thrust face. Now, the reality of it is the new thrust face is still bigger than the old one. I took about 1 millimeter off, right? So basically just about 1 millimeter, and it's still more robust than the original. So I am not worried about the thrust face being a problem. What I am worried about is from here on out, do we have to check and test this all the time? So I hope not. I hope this is specific to this case. You know, maybe how they cut the relief down here is not quite as big on the backside. That could be. But we chose not to go modifying the case, because we were able to just modify the bearing. The thing is, if you don't check this, put the whole engine back together, I am here to tell you that it turns into a lot of work to fix this leak. So I am sure one of the fear-mongering companies is going to come out with a brand new bearing. So instead of 75 bucks, these will be, you know, 300 bucks. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else sees this problem. The reality is January 2024, I couldn't find anybody else that has had this problem. But there's your evidence, right? You now have transfer all the way through. So this is Dykem, which is like water, way thinner than Loctite 574. So if I'm getting this kind of transfer with something that's that thin, I'm going to be golden with my Loctite 574. So I think we've solved the problem for this motor. I don't think we've solved the root cause yet. So hopefully somebody will start keeping track, and if I find any that are a problem, I will certainly let the community know. If anybody else does, hey, let us know. All right, so that was my solution. Again, just trimming the thrust face. So I don't believe it was allowing the bearing to sit all the way down. And somebody had said, hey, measure the bore, you know, put it together, measure the bore. I don't think that's the problem, right? Because I think that this bearing was sitting perfectly fine. So that bore was perfect. But what was happening is it was pushing up here, right? And it was holding the case open. So the bore was fine. If you would have measured the bore, that wouldn't have been a problem. There was actually a gap, theoretically, there was a gap between the back of this surface and the surface of the case. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure how you would measure for this. You know, we did the cut and try farmer thing where we used Dykem, but if anybody's got a better plan, maybe you share it with the community. We'll put it out there, or it'll show up as a $8 million tool from, I'm not gonna name any names, but there's some fear mongering. This is not fear mongering, guys. This is, hey, just do a double check. It was an easy fix. Just scrape the side or scrape the thrust face of the bearing. All right, that's it. Enough rambling. Have a fantastic day. Check us out at BreitWerks.com.